Okay, so today we're going to talk about making our sentence outline. First things first, you want your outline to be in complete sentences. It is called a sentence outline, after all. One thing to keep in mind is that your introduction and concluding paragraphs are not included in this outline. You've already basically written your intro paragraph with the previous step. The sentence outline is really about the body of the paper, right? Your real argument, not the introduction, not the conclusion, but the meat and potatoes of what you're trying to say. One thing you do need to do at the top, don't forget here, is to put your working thesis statement at the top of your outline. Now, I put a working thesis statement because as you're doing your research and your writing, your ideas may change. You might discover something, or you might find that what you've researched and written is maybe a little different than your initial thesis. That's fine. Change your thesis to meet your essay, not the other way around, if you find yourself in that situation. Point number 3. Instead of organizing your outline by paragraph, I want you to arrange it by concept or by idea. All right, use your thesis statement to help kind of guide you into what those concepts are going to be. The reason I say that is it is very likely that it will take several paragraphs to explain or expound upon in your essay. So each idea isn't necessarily going to be its own single paragraph. It might be a couple of paragraphs to logically explain and thoroughly expound upon your idea. So that's why you arrange it that way. Number 4, essentially you are putting this together in a classic outline formation with Roman numerals, capital letters, numbers, etc. So Roman numerals, this is where you organize your argument. Your outline must have a minimum of 2 main points. All right? So you need at least 2 major examples to really prove your point. That's minimum. I think it would be a good idea to make a list of your points you want to prove your thesis. What would you need to be true in order for your thesis to be valid? Capital letters. In this section, you organize your primary source citations. Your outline must have a minimum of 2 primary source quotes for each main point. So you need a minimum of 2 main points and then a minimum of 2 quotes. It could also be a paraphrase or a summary from the novel to help support and prove your 2 major points. So that's 4 quotes total here. All right. You could, of course, do more, but you can't do less. Subsection 1, all direct quotes must be embedded into your sentence outline. Within each section, what ideas will you exploit to support your thesis? Sub number 2, include citations for all direct quotes, summaries, and paraphrases. It is important that you include the citations so that when you sit down to write your paper, you don't have to then go looking through your stuff to try and find where it came from. I know it might be a little bit more work now, but it's better to do it now than next week when you have to actually write your paper. The numbers is where you organize your secondary source information. All right, and you also add your commentary here. I do want you to note that commentary does not need to be cited because it is your own original thoughts. You've read this stuff. This is what you think about it. It's an original thought. You do not need to cite that. You do need to have MLA formatting requirements ready. Nothing new here. 12-point Times Roman font, 1-inch margins, double space, heading and header, including a title. You do want to include your working thesis statement at the top of the page underneath the title. So you want to make sure you have all that stuff done. This is an easy way to lose some points if you don't do this correctly. So the example that I have here is from Frankenstein. You'll see I've broken it down into red being my original thoughts, blue being my primary source, green being my secondary. You do not need to break it down in those colors. I did that so that you could see more clearly what is what. If you want to go ahead and do that, live your best life. Go for it. So you can see number 1, Roman numeral number 1. I say the creation knows right from wrong and is constantly aware of how to avoid doing something bad. This is one of my major points. Okay, so then I go to capital letter A. This is my source material, primary source material. When he admits to Frankenstein that he is conscious of his physical power yet has enough self-control to not to act impulsively, he says, "Remember, thou hast made me more powerful than thyself. My height is superior to thine, my joints more supple, but I will not be tempted to set myself in opposition to thee." Notice I have the citation there. And then my commentary. He's letting Frankenstein know he is self-aware, but choosing not to act impulsively. And then you see the number 1. This is my secondary source information, so this is a quote from my secondary source, or really a summary or paraphrase. While Victor believes his creation to be mindless and evil, here the creature makes it quite plain that he is conscious and conscientious. And then my commentary. Here, Shelley really starts to develop the idea that perhaps Victor is a real monster here. The creature may be physically powerful, monstrously so, in fact, but he is possessive of a loving and even gentle disposition. Down below, in point B, the creature acknowledges that he ought to be thy Adam. Right, this is again my primary source point, revealing his desire to be Frankenstein's idea of perfection, which infers that Frankenstein's rejection forced him to choose vengeful behavior. However, this still indicates that he has a choice in how he chooses to act and therefore is ultimately responsible for the crimes. Here in the green, I have my secondary source information. Eventually, as he, quote, comes to accept his part as the creator of the monster, Victor begins to see his own complicity in the monster's actions. That's from Wolpart. But because the creature is able to think freely, etc. And then number 2 there, that is my commentary. Now, this is obviously an unfinished outline. This is just meant to give you an idea of what it's supposed to look like. So you are going to have more than what you see here. If you scroll down below, there's the rubric, 50 points, secondary grade. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll talk soon.